In this particular chapter, we're going to be looking at iPhone edit modes. We've seen new edit features introduced into the palm of our hands in our iPhones that's really changed the game for me. And we're seeing this manual grading and functionality within our image capture that previously we had to always resource through third-party apps. But now we've got a lot of editing functionality packed in to the standard camera edit features right in our iPhone. Now, a lot of people ask me, Jace, when you've got a video in your camera roll, can you change the in point and the out point of the video? Can you actually edit that? And the answer is you can. You can simply locate a video in your camera roll, tap edit in the top right hand corner, and then this brings up this thing which is like a storyboard representation of your video along the base here. And what we have there is we have a play button, so when you hit play it just starts playing back the file. Now notice that little white line in the middle moving? That is what we call your playback scrubber. So you can actually tap that and move that all the way along your video like so. Now what else you can do is you can say I want to change where the video starts and stops, which is what this is about. So if we touch either of these handles on either end of the video clip here, that'll change our in and out point. So now I've dragged the end of my clip in, just playing it back through the video, and for instance if I want to finish the video before I do that jerky camera move, I can just play that back there and leave it there at the 14-second mark. Likewise, I can go to the start of my video and play that through and get rid of that little camera shake at the start there and just say that's my start point at 4 seconds. Now when I hit play, it'll actually just play the bit that I've just shortened in the middle of that video there. Now I can save that to my camera roll in one of two ways. When I hit done in the bottom right hand corner, it gives me the option here to either save the video. Now what that does is it saves over the top of the old duration video. So it'll get rid of the extra bit of video at the top and the tail of the video. Or if I select save video as new clip, which is what I normally do, it'll save that exact same piece of video as a separate video file to my camera roll. So if we go save video as new clip, all is done. This is a great way of saving space on your phone, but also keeping your clips nice and clean. So if you want to get rid of the messy camera work, you easily can. Now, if you've ever filmed in slow motion, you might have noticed when you go to play back a slow motion video file from your camera roll, it actually plays the video at regular speed to start with, and then it goes into slow motion speed. Now this is a short clip, so bear with me and I'll show you by example. Then towards the end of the video clip, it starts playing the video back at regular speed. A lot of people find this effect, there we go. A lot of people find that annoying and they want the slow motion duration to go for the entire length of the clip, but they don't know how. Well, if you tap again into edit, it brings up not only the initial playback timeline, but underneath that it brings up a second playback scrubber, and you'll notice a whole series of lines, vertical lines there in a very condensed fashion. Now at the start and the stop of the video clip, you'll see all the lines are very close together. What this means is that's where it's playing back the video clip in regular speed. You can change that by touching the line and dragging it in or out. So if I want to start the entire video exactly on slow-mo, I can just drag that out, and when I hit playback, it's already on slow motion right from the get-go. Or I might say, you know what, I want to play regular speed till about halfway through the video, and then I want it to go to slow-mo. So if we play that clip now, it'll play back regular speed, and then it cuts into slow-mo for the end. So you can vary your timing of where you want your slow motion in your clip to actually start and stop. And of course, with this one, when you click done, it's just saved as metadata, so it doesn't actually destroy any of the information in the video clip. So if you want to go back in later and resurrect the slow motion stuff at the start and stop of the clip, you absolutely can. So we're back on a conventional image now. Again, we'll go back into edit. I want to show you these manual grading tools along the bottom here. Now, right at the get-go, what you'll notice is there's a whole palette. If you just click and drag your finger along, there's a whole palette of finite controls. Now, the first one you'll come across here is auto. Of course, if you tap on that, it just basically does a very minute adjustment according to Apple's own algorithms for what would make the image look better. The next palette item along is this one, which is called exposure. Now, by tapping on that and then dragging along the slider along the bottom, you can go up or down, and that will essentially brighten or darken the exposure of the entire image. Now moving on from exposure, we have brilliance, and in a word, it's exactly that, it's brilliant. This is unfortunately only available in still image mode, edit modes. It's not available for video, but when you click on it and you drag the slider, what it's effectively doing is it's either brightening the shadows and darkening the highlights, or it's doing the opposite. It's darkening the shadows and brightening the highlights. Moving on from brilliance, we'll find highlights, and as the name implies, simply by turning that up or down, you can adjust the brightness in the highlights of the image only. Moving on from highlights, you'll find shadows, and as that name implies, it'll adjust the brightness only in the shadow tones and the dark areas. Next to shadows, you will find contrast, and this particular feature allows you to either bring the shadows and the highlights closer together or further apart. Next to contrast, we'll find brightness, and this will lighten or darken mainly our shadows and our midtones in the image. Next to brightness, you'll find black point, and this will adjust the brightness of only the darkest tones in the image. Next up, saturation will either add color or subtract color from the image. Now next to saturation, you'll find a very useful function called vibrance, and what vibrance does is it enhances only muted colors within the palette and will leave things like skin tones largely alone. Then we have warmth, which will either make all the colors warmer or cooler. Next to warmth, we find tint, and this allows you to add either a slight magenta tint or a green tint to the overall image. Next to tint, you'll find sharpness, and this image is already nice and sharp, but if you've got a blurry image, you can try sharpening it up in this. It'll use contrast levels along the edges to make it more crisp. Next up is definition, and this one uses contrast to help improve clarity in detail areas of the image. Noise reduction is particularly useful in low light imagery where you might have a lot of grain, and it'll use a softening filter to help minimize that noise and grain within the image. And the very last one along our palette here is vignette, and vignette allows you to introduce those nice dark moody corners to the edges of frame. If you actually turn it the other way, it'll brighten the corners. Now again, a very important thing to remember is none of this information you change in any of these settings here is destructive information, right? It is all metadata on the file. So whatever settings you add to an image or a video here, once you save it, if you want to go back and change it again, you totally can. Click done when you're finished. Now some people elect to shoot with filters, other people like to add filters later in post-production. Now a lot of people don't know you can actually just shoot in normal mode and still add a filter of your choice digitally afterwards as a post-production thing. So if we go to, again, one of our video clips here, and I click edit, along the base here where we have the little 3 round circles, we tap that. This will bring up our filter menu, and of course we can just drag through that and see a preview of all the different color modes or color effects that this will apply to our video. Now there are slightly less filters available in video mode than what you do have in stills mode, but again, all this stuff is great to have as a quick way of resurrecting or giving a particular look to your video file. And again, when you save it, the great thing is this is non-destructive information. So if you happen to click done, saving the video now with that filter on there, if we hop out of that file as soon as it's finished saving, any second now, and go back into it again, we can go back to that filter. It brings up Vivid Cool, and we can take it off if we want to and still save it. So using filters on your phone is a great way to get an effect or a look, and it's non-destructive information. Great tip to know. Now I'm going to introduce you to the very last little palette item here along the bottom right hand corner of our image edit mode here, and if I tap on those little square lines there, it brings up this menu here. Now the very first menu function here is giving us the option to straighten our video. So if we've shot something that's on a slight angle, we can actually use this to give very finite control over correcting our rotation in the shot. Now of course, If we've been, for instance, shooting architecture and we want to get a building super straight, this is the only way to do that. Next one along is a skewing function. It tilts the photo forward or back, this way or this way. So again, it helps you correct perspective along that plane, and the next one along, of course, does it from left to right. Now the last menu item I want to point out to you is in the top right hand corner. You'll see a number of little boxes all overlapping. When we tap on that, that brings up our crop function, and this works in both still images as well as video. And of course along the bottom it's accompanied with some standard image aspect ratios here. So you can actually go from freeform, which allows you to just literally go in and choose your own aspect ratio, to square crop, to 16:9, 10:8, and there's a number of different aspect ratios along the base here you can save your image at. Again, once you've found the right aspect ratio, simply hit done in the bottom right hand corner and it'll save the file with that information.